I feel like adding this whole different form of my identity in, like I love being an athlete. I love being in the gym and like being able to tap into other women in a completely different way. It just gives such a refreshed energy that when I am focusing on that and then coming back to a very different private practice caseload, it's a beautiful balance that keeps me filled on both ends.
This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. I love encouraging healers and therapists to think deeply and creatively about what their work could look like. I often say things like, step out of default thinking for a moment and give yourself permission to dream into what you want to create. When you're imagining that, who are you serving? How are you working with them? What work do you no longer do or you do less of? What does your day look like? Who are you collaborating with? In this episode, I got to talk to two sisters who dreamed up a way to work differently by creating a business together. Meet Kaitlyn and Meghann Ellis. Meghann Ellis is a therapist with over 18 years experience and has a specialty in complex trauma, EMDR, and dissociative diagnoses. She's combined forces with her twin sister, Kaitlyn Ellis, who's an occupational therapist and pelvic floor specialist with over 20 years of experience. Together, they run Twin Root Wellness. Welcome, Kaitlyn and Meghann. I am so happy that you're here.
Thank you. This is great.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. All right. So I want to start with Kaitlyn. Will you tell us who your program is for? Who do the two of you work with?
The primary people that we're really aiming to work with is the pregnant and postpartum client, particularly those we're calling them athletes, and we're referring to athlete as anyone who exercises regularly. Particularly kind of with the aim to either train for a competition or just to get better within the sport that they participate in.
Okay, great. Like I've got a lot of friends who do things like acro yoga, just all kinds of stuff where they're not necessarily competing at anything, but when I see them doing what they're doing, I'm like, okay, yeah, you use your body in a really awesome, intense way. So it sounds like that would include those folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone who does, whether it's mommy and me boot camps or they just like to go for a jog with their friends, they like to swim, anything that they complete in regularly for the sake of fitness. And most of us, when we do exercise regularly, our goals are to, whether go a little bit faster, go a little bit farther, and just have those goals in mind, not just to move our body, but to have a goal of performance in mind as well. But it does not have to be competitive. But can I, hit the bag a little harder in kickboxing or learn a new move, that type of thing.
Okay. And what is it that your program, your work together helps them to do?
Yeah, we are combining both. So I'm an occupational therapist that does pelvic floor work. And I also have, my background is that of a CrossFit coach. And I noticed within myself that when my postpartum journey started, that it was really hard to balance not just the physical. I had a very difficult traumatic labor and delivery. So my body wasn't feeling like it had before. And then and in addition to that, I was having more so of the difficulty kind of wrapping my head around this new role of mother and the expectations of what society I thought I should do as a mother, prioritizing my child over everything else. And then I have to work on top of that. And what time did that leave me to exercise?
Mm-hmm.
And I really felt
do anything for yourself.
Anything. Yeah. Like now all of a sudden showering is considered a luxury, let alone going to the gym for an hour. There was just such a disconnect. And in my training for pelvic floor, there's so much focus on the physical. Yes, of course, when we've had a baby or when we're pregnant, there's a lot of aches and pains and we're unsure of how to progress physically. But a lot of times my clients, when I'm making a recommendation, They want to go from 0 to 100, where we need to go 0, 10, 20, 30. And why are they having that trouble adjusting? Because of those mental health components to it. So I found myself really utilizing Meghann's knowledge to really help me with these clients. Because if we're not looking at the mental, how is this, whether it's a traumatic childbirth or, years down the line, we've got some incontinence issues. We're not looking at how this process is affecting them as a person and as a mother and an individual. We're neglecting their overall care.
Ooh. So Meghann, what would you notice when you're talking to Kaitlyn, let's say, about the people that she's working with? What would you hear and notice from your experience?
I mean, I think it's really hard. People are used to having this athlete mindset, or they're yogi, or they're whatever, and to switch from, it's not just push through the pain, go as hard as you can, all those slogans that we've been inundated with, but to now, honor your body, take one step at a time. That was like a really hard shift for people. So helping them understand these, create short-term goals, helping people with that all or nothing thinking. I will never get back there. I will never be able to enjoy or engage in the movement or exercise that I had previously done. Helping work through that, as well as just feeling overwhelmed. And as Kaitlyn said before, working through those patterns of mom guilt, right? Kind of establishing a better relationship with this new identity, grieving the loss of the old identity in whichever way, even if it's just acknowledging the fact that there is a little grief to that, and then starting to develop short-term goals to help people not feel so overwhelmed by everything and take one step forward. So really kind of, titrating and compartmentalizing and just doing it one step at a time.
Mm. So then the outcome you're helping people with is like, how would you describe it, Meghann?
What we would say is that we're just helping women safely re-engage or stay engaged in sport during this transitionary time, as well as honor their mind and body. So we're really helping women just really navigate this transitionary time, both the transition into motherhood, as well as continuing to keep this facet that they love, which is the role and title of athlete.
Yeah, I'm getting this like very all or nothing. Like it feels like there's a pull to go all or nothing
Yes.
with so many things in our culture.
Yeah.
And this would be one, is like all or nothing in terms of being a parent and probably especially a mother, and then all or nothing in terms of being an athlete. And so that feels really profound that the two of you are helping people find a way to really be not all or nothing with both of those things.
Exactly. And I think like in that first year of postpartum, women are at significant risk for, of course, postpartum depression, and they're also at risk for anxiety, isolation, and weight gain. And I think so many women, especially with society and the pressures of social media, gym culture, that type of thing, they feel like, okay, I don't want that to happen. I want to get my body back. Or they go to the next extreme is I don't want to do anything because I want to dedicate 100% of myself to my child. And we're just trying to meet the person where they are, not dictating. You have to be, or just kind of helping them realize that you are not going to get your body back. You had a baby. Your body has changed, but like, how can we embrace the body that we have now, celebrate the strength and the movement that we have so that you can still achieve the goals that you have, whether it is to compete or whether it is to have the energy to play with your child without pain or without having incontinence. Both are incredibly important.
What do you feel like people most often get wrong about this? Like, what do you notice when you're getting ready to work with them? What is like a misconception that you hear people having, like new moms?
I think just even one, I think people think that pregnancy is the hardest part of it all, because when it comes to this time, like if I get through pregnancy, then I have this beautiful baby, the doctor clears me at 6 weeks, I'm me again, right? And then I think you step into this postpartum world, and this is an identity that you've for first time moms, they never been through. And then of course, as you add children on, you're juggling this new, what does mother look like with 1, 2, 3 children, and et cetera, et cetera. The postpartum part is this like sneaky little thing that you're like, nah, I'll be good then. Like, and you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
like who am I? Who is my body? What is my identity? Who did I used to be? And like, when does postpartum end? Because the doctor said I was like that I'm good. It's 6 weeks, but it's really this long journey where you're really shifting and changing over the course of a year plus. And I think that often catches people by surprise, especially when it comes to like 2 or 3 months postpartum. They're like, I thought I'd be past this. And it's like,
Yeah.
helping and honor and be like, you've just begun, but look how far you've come as well.
Right. And I think what I hear a lot of women say is when they're pregnant, you can see that they're pregnant. They know that there's something happened. They're growing a baby. They get that attention. Even in the medical world, by the end, you're seeing the doctor every single week. Then
right?
you
You
have
feel
this
loved,
baby.
supported, acknowledged.
People are holding doors open for you, picking stuff off the ground. Then you've had a baby. You've had a severe trauma to your body, whether it's went exactly according to birth plan or it did something totally different. Whether you had tearing or no tearing, that is severe trauma that has happened to your body. And you don't look pregnant anymore. You've had the baby, you're fine. Everybody has a baby, right? Except for what? Your abdominal muscles have stretched over 100%. Your pelvic floor muscles, if you've labored at all, have stretched about 250%. So even if you feel fine, your body is very susceptible to injury. It's very susceptible to a lot of things. And now you look fine. You're fine, right? No, you're not sleeping. Your hormones are all over the place. You're stressing about another entire individual. And so people just think, okay, go ahead. You're fine. You've had a baby. And that is where they're really struggling. Maybe you even lost the weight, but you can't move the way you used to, or you're exhausted. And it's just so much. But everyone just thinks you should be okay. Because they don't understand.
Yeah. And it sounds like I'm hearing too, like I remember feeling like I got a lot of toxic compliments when I was in postpartum about like how I looked compared to how I could look, like just with well-meaning, but really toxic. And
yeah,
I feel like what you're talking about is more like an inside out experience of your body, of like, how is your body actually functioning and feeling, and not how's your body looking? What the fuck?
I mean, even for me, I lost all my baby weight within a week. But that was because I was hospitalized again. That's because I was severely sick. I lost the weight because I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and that was not healthy for me. And I was like, oh my God, you look amazing. Well, I feel terrible. I went from being able to work out the day my water broke, I was working out. I couldn't even walk 2 driveway distances down. But I looked great. But I didn't feel great. And so then because I looked okay, I felt even more pressure to perform and go to the gym. And then what happened? I did too much too soon, and I put myself at risk for pelvic organ prolapse, which I have. Was that because of it? I'm not sure. But there are so many risk factors in our bodies that are so susceptible.
Right. So that other layer of like the invisible wounds of mental health, you can see it even coming out in this world that we're talking about with our business, this invisible wound of like our inside is, whether it's pelvic floor, body, or emotionally, I'm not okay, but you look like you should be okay. So really just kind of going back to that.
So Meghann, when did you realize this was a project that you wanted to join or do with your sister? I'm asking Meghann, just to remind people, Meghann is the therapist. All right.
Yes. Though we sound exactly alike, we're actually 2 different people that are talking right now. Well, I knew for one that my sister was extremely gifted in what she did. She is the one who guided me through my pregnancy and postpartum as someone who we came from a very athletic background. We love to engage in sport. And my sister helped me healthily get through pregnancy and postpartum with no severe symptoms because of her gifted work. So I always looked up to her and honored her. And it's so funny. I think about I signed up for your course, Annie, and my sister and I went out that weekend and we were talking about hopes and dreams for ourselves. And my sister said after lunch, why don't we go and buy some notebooks and really start to scheme like what our niche businesses are going to be. Like, let's both do this. And like, then my sister looked at me like a week later, was like, why are we doing this separately? Like, I keep asking you for assistance. And then me in the gym, I'm always asking for Kaitlyn's assistance for women. And we're like, why aren't we just doing this together? And it just clicked. It made sense and it felt really natural. And we've been like super excited about it ever since. So it felt so helpful going even into your program with like, I'm doing this with my sister. The seeds had been planted for many years, but it just came to fruition because I think we're just both at that stage in our life where we're just ready for a shift.
Beautiful. And Meghann, what makes you particularly ready for a shift? Like ready to add this business, this program to your career?
Yeah. I am so blessed that I love what I do. I've had my own private practice for about 8 years now. I love my clients. I love what I do. I'm a trauma-focused therapist that specializes in dissociative disorder, but that's intense work.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to keep doing what I love, but I know that my brain needs a break. The back-to-back clients is really impacting me. I feel at the end of the day, I don't have as much to give, whether it's give to myself, give to my family, give to my clients. I'm worried about burning out, and so I feel like adding this whole different form of my identity in, like I love being an athlete. I love being in the gym and like being able to tap into other women in a completely different way. It just gives such a refreshed energy that when I am focusing on that and then coming back to a very different private practice caseload, it's a beautiful balance that keeps me filled on both ends. But burnout, yes, is I can feel it starting to come in.
Beautiful. So you're using different parts of yourself.
Yes.
And then when you go into that work, that trauma-focused work, you're able to bring in a different kind of energy.
Exactly, right? Like I'm not using the therapist brain. I'm using a coaching brain or just a creative writing content, being silly with my sister, talking about successes in the gym. It's just a totally different aspect of self. So that therapist brain that's focused on specialties and being so present with people's mind, body, and soul. I don't have to be that on guard with it all, so that when I step into session, I have so much more energy because I haven't just exhausted that part of my brain 24/7.
Attention. If you're a therapist or healer who wants a lucrative business model where you get to do what you love, but you don't have to be running session after session after session and still barely making enough money, I have an offer for you. I want to invite you to check out my 10-week program called Create Your Program. You'll learn how to design and launch your own pilot program. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. I will teach you how. Head over to rebeltherapist.me/create to learn more and register. Let's get back to the episode. Kaitlyn, what about you? Like what had you working in those notebooks and kind of like dreaming up what's next?
Yeah. My career as an occupational therapist has really changed and progressed a lot in the 20 years that I've been a practitioner. The last 3, I've been a full-time pelvic floor occupational therapist, and it's been such a beautiful shift. And I really feel like I found my calling in pelvic health, more so than I had when I did neuro rehabilitation. But at the same point, I work for, a very large corporate company. I'm under the productivity constraints. I have 45 minutes to see my clients, 14 sometimes clients a day. It's overwhelming. I do 4 10-hour shifts. It doesn't leave much for a work-life balance. I love the clients that I'm seeing, but I don't have as much control over yes, they're all pelvic health and they're all women's pelvic health, which is what I have that control over. That's what I choose to see. But I don't have the choice of motivation, or I can give them everything I have. Am I getting that back? So one of the main things I was really looking for is, if I had to pick that, could just pluck someone out, who would it be? It would be that pregnant or postpartum athlete, because they already have that driven kind of athlete mindset. They're motivated. I can use my skills as an occupational therapy practitioner, a pelvic floor practitioner, and then I can also incorporate my love with my sports background, with my coaching certifications on top of that. So it's really a combination of everything. But my main goal really I'd love to have more flexibility of my schedule, and just have a lot of fun. Just continue to have fun. I think we're always progressing, and every kind of job I have that I've changed, I'm working in that direction. But this is really is just a dream population to work with.
That makes so much sense. So you've identified this is one group of people who are really motivated. They're going to take the work that you're doing together, I'm sure everyone does see the value of their pelvic floor and see the value of the work and really be likely to make the most of it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's been so amazing working with Meghann. We've come a long way.
Okay, let me ask you about that. So I know a little bit about what your different strengths are in terms of your expertise, your experience. Meghann, what would you say about, I know you both are awesome. What do you notice in terms of and then of course, Kaitlyn, I'm going to ask you this too. What do you see as when you're dividing up work or you're planning together? What are some of the ways that you feel like your strengths or weaknesses come up in the business relationship?
Yeah. I do feel like I love my sister so much because she's the unfiltered version of me. And I sometimes watch her and I'm like,
I was going to say that exactly.
That was in my head, but I wasn't going to put it up there, but there we go. So I think one thing, Kaitlyn is stronger in content, ideas, both because she knows the pelvic floor part, but she's also better at just that creative aspect of media creation. She knows how to do it. She's more in tuned with it. Website, Instagram, all that stuff. She's much better at than I am. Again, just her knowledge is amazing. I've found that I've been more into I'm laughing as I say this because I don't think I'm that detail oriented around certain things, but I feel some more of the details of the business, getting the LLC, staying on track of the different marketing people that we've worked with, making sure we're making sure we have consistent contact, that we're moving forward, that we have goals, that checking all the boxes of to build the business versus the work.
So would you say kind of project management parts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm laughing at because I am good at it with this, but in maybe other facets of my life I'm not at, but yes, I'm doing that. And Kaitlyn is definitely more content ideas, visuals, things like that would be my perspective of it all.
That's so wonderful. I love that balance. What about you, Kaitlyn? What do you see?
I see the exact same thing she said. She's so much better with the details. I think I'm strong in navigating how to put a website together, how to get some content looking pretty, adding the songs that we like, coming up with ideas. But as far as the detail work, she's so much better at it. It's just my brain doesn't do that. I'm way more of a fly by the seat of my pants. Oh, that sounds funny. Let's do that. Again, because I am what you're gonna, you see me, you know exactly what you're gonna get out of me. So Meghann is much more maybe we should say it this way. Oh, okay. Which I don't know. It hasn't always been like that, has it?
No.
Well,
maybe a little.
I feel like I did
who's older
on you.
Kaitlyn. So Kaitlyn's 19 months older, but fun fact, my mom didn't know she was having twins until after my sister was born. So my mom thought she was having one child, and I was the surprise guest appearance.
Did you have, in deciding to go into business together, did you have like serious conversations about like what could go wrong and like how do we protect our relationship, stuff like that? Or did you just know we'll be fine?
No, we didn't have that conversation. I think our family has been through a lot. We've had tragedy. We've had a lot of things happen that have put Meghann and my relationship to the test quite a few times. And we both know that family comes first, and we're not going to let anything get in the way of that. We don't see eye to eye on things all the time. Of course we don't. But I think we both know that it's not worth it.
And I think we've also learned over the years, like, we know how each other responds and like when we're overwhelmed. And I think there's been certain times where we're just like, I'm like, now's not the time, or, okay, I said something, I'm going to back off now, or like, let's revisit this. So I think because we know each other so well, like if we've bumped heads on and off for the entirety of our lives, but I think we've also learned about how to communicate effectively with each other. And like, I don't take it personally if we don't get along or we disagree. Like, I think it's more just like, okay, I'm having a hard time hearing this, or I'm just not in the right mindset. And I think we're able to communicate that to each other much better. So, I think a lot of the stuff that we have had to figure out prior has really helped us kind of gain like a better understanding of each other.
Nice. Do you set aside time where you're like, we're not talking about the business together? Or do you just let the business come up whenever you're together?
We just let it kind of come up. We schedule set aside time so that we can talk about the business, and the business, that's all we're talking about. The rest of the time, we really are able to have a nice balance between the two.
You know, when something really needs to get done, we're like, okay, we need to schedule this time. How does this time work? We're going to focus on X, Y, and Z. But other times when we're together, it's kind of just more like ideas, you know, like, oh, I was thinking of this, or what do you think of this? Okay, I'll write it down. So it's nothing that takes up too much time or energy. It's just kind of like what's naturally coming up. And I think because her and I are so close and we chat, like it just naturally will come in for a sentence and go away. But I think we found a pretty good balance, and we've been able to advocate with our cherished time together when we need to really like focus on business things versus
getting distracted.
or distracted time. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So now I really want to hear about the way that you work with people. Tell us about how it works in like when you're working with a person. Yeah. Kaitlyn, do you want to start?
Sure. So when we work with a client, we kind of have two different routes we're taking. One is an individualized coaching plan with them, where we do that virtually, and we do an intake with them, really going through, as far as my component, what was your pregnancy like? What was your labor like? Where do you feel like you're at? What are you having trouble with? Going through a specific kind of pelvic floor questionnaire with them. Meghann asking questions, and we're giving this questionnaire prior to meeting them, so we have this idea already, and then we can kind of go into more detail of really what both their physical and their mental health needs are. And it's not even, mental health, like this isn't like Meghann's their therapist, but she's also their coach.
Goal setting, what are blocks? Yeah. What do you want to work towards? Things like that.
So we kind of do that consult together, and then we can schedule individual sessions with me where I'm really working on a lot of the pelvic floor component, looking at video of them and doing their chosen sport, doing an activity analysis, helping find that work-life balance as far as exercise progression. So not just stuff at the gym, but what can we do during our activities of daily living, during our home management, during our childcare tasks, so we can kind of balance the pelvic floor, more boring, like foundational movement work with just a natural habituation. And then what can we do for them in the gym? And just goal setting, having concrete ideas of where can I meet you? Where are your goals? where do I think you need to go from a pelvic floor component? And then how can we get there utilizing a progressive overload technique and making sure the client all time knows where we want them to go so that they understand the steps that have to come in between.
Okay. So you're actually watching video of them doing their chosen sport. And are you like walking them through how to do stuff at home in a way that's going to like support their bodies as well? Or how does that all work?
Yeah, I like to teach my clients how to become kind of their own private investigator in their own body. So it's not just, so people will come into me and say, for example, when I run, I pee myself. Okay, but is it every time you run? Is it 5 minutes in? Is it 2 miles in? And then teaching them the foundational steps of things that I like to have them, what impacts that? Our breath, our pressure, our tension, our posture, and the movement. And at what point are we starting to have a breakdown in function, which is where we're seeing that issue? So a lot of times, let's say with that runner, I'm going to have them videotape themselves maybe running up and down the street. And then I'm going to have them go on their regular jog route. And let's say I have a lady that her goal was to run a half marathon. And at mile 10, she peed. So when she's doing her runs, I had her husband set up a camera at around mile 10 and also at the beginning. And I could see there was an impact in her ability to hold her posture. Her tension of gripping her body was different. So we were able to problem solve that. Some of it was just being aware of how she was posturing. And also she didn't have the core strength to get her to mile 10. And that's when her pelvic floor was taking more of a kind of beat down. And then supplementing with core work. A lot of times, especially our endurance athletes, they're a runner. They swim, they're a swimmer. But we also need to start to diversify. So helping them with that type of stuff, but really start to problem solve. When is there the problem? Is it rep 1? Is it rep 5? Is it rep 10? And then how can we help them from there? But the more education we can provide, the more they're able to problem solve it and really become empowered in their own sense of understanding what the pelvic floor does.
And then Meghann, where does your work fit in with that person? Like I'm imagining it could be around, well, I'll say this as a business coach. I can tell people, all right, now it's time to write your sales page. Or I can tell people like, now it's time to reach out to some referral partners. That's different than that actually happening. So that's one guess I'm having about like where your work comes in. But yeah, tell us.
Exactly. So I think like one of the biggest flaws, if you think of like any plan that you've ever set for yourself, like during, not just talking about movement, do we do the plan? No, right? Like like, or when do we like, so one of the struggles that we've had in like building our business are people are like, I don't want a therapist. Like, why do I need a therapist? It's like, I want to continue to do movement. So I've been playing around a lot with like what my title is. So like, it's like kind of right now, like mindset coaching. So it's really helping people like be like, if we just gave you a plan, you may not follow it. Like, how can we get you, like, what are the barriers, the blockages to being able to sit down with this plan? What are you noticing? How can we begin to just anticipate your need, meet it using some internal work, mantras, ability to talk self through it, as well as like natural support systems, things like that. So really just being able to like anticipate adversity or process adversity that has come up and then create game plans to set you up for success. And again, wouldn't we all love that? I'd love if someone did that for me, like anytime I have to type my clinical notes on a daily basis.
That's right. And I guess a word that comes to me that I have a lot of different feelings and experiences with is accountability. That sometimes I hear people wanting a mindset/accountability coach. And I got to say, I wonder what you each think about this, but I think accountability for many of us is like overrated.
Yes.
That accountability for long-term projects that really only impact us, which is a lot of projects, like outer accountability is not as powerful as we think it's going to be. And that like the deeper work that you're talking about or the more nuanced work you're talking about is really necessary. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's research out there that says no one can be accountable for yourself except for you. I think if you think about a friend, I have lots of friends. I work out very early in the morning. People are like, hey, can you make sure I get to the gym tomorrow? I'm like, well, what am I supposed to wake you up out of bed? Like, I don't know. And that feels awful. What happens if you're tired? Like, hey, why weren't you there today? Like, that just feels kind of bullying. So what we're helping is establish that I can mindset within you. Like, if you are having a problem, it's not that I am the problem, which I think we all internalize that, right? Not that we're helping like depersonalize the problem. It's not because I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm this. It's that this is a challenge and I need to learn how to overcome this, or I need to evaluate, is this something I really want to work through? So no accountability, just teaching yourself how to kind of manage your internal and external adversities that arise.
But also, especially with our postpartum ladies, if you're tired, also saying, then you need to rest. Your body's healing. So teaching them that it's okay. Our mindset is going to be different than it was before. And we do need to find that balance, because we have those extremes of those people that are like 2000%. And we need to pull that back, because our body's cortisol levels are already through the roof. When we're stressed, our body doesn't know the difference between the good stress of a workout and just a high intensity stress on top of whatever's happening at home and with the baby and your body and healing. And that may be too much. And that may be why we're not achieving our goals. So sometimes just telling them we need to pull it back. We're not always need to like push it forward.
Yes. I wonder if you can still say accountability sometimes because it's what people think they're looking for, but then to complicate it in the messaging. But yeah.
Yes, you're right. It's like we need a little bit of that clickbait.
Yeah. Like in my program, people want accountability and there are deadlines in there and those can really help. And like I'm wrapping up a cohort now, and we just talked about in our one of our final calls how like there's an urge in every project for most of us to quit. And my message about that now is not don't quit. My message now is like, let's listen to the part of you that wants to quit and really hear that part out and see what wisdom it has, and see if that, in really listening to that, we can incorporate that wisdom into like a more doable plan. It's not like, go.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's, we're building our business and we both have confidence like that this is a great business. It's worthy. It's different. It's unique. It's needed. And, we're still in that part where like we have some traction and then we don't. We have some traction and that we don't. And we're just, and I think I keep using the wording that I learned from your class, Annie, of like, we need to make sure we're still connecting to that right fit client. Because some people are like a little ick about the mindset, that mental piece. And we're like, well, then you're not the right fit for us. Just get a plan and do it, but we have a very personalized mind, body, soul approach. And we're truly passionate about that. So we're just going to make sure that we keep like sticking with like, we know this is good. We know from our own experiences and from all the women we've worked with and all the women we know who've had babies, that this is important. So we're just going to keep, marketing and making sure that we're gaining traction.
Yeah. Beautiful. And what are some of those signs where somebody is a right fit for your work or they're not a right fit for your work? I just heard the one about if all they want is a plan, that wouldn't really be a fit. What else?
Really, especially when we do the intake, we're looking to see what their flexibility is. If they are kind of looking, again, like to the extremes of, I need to get this goal done in the next 6 weeks, whether it's, especially if it's a performance, that may not be safe for them. And while they would benefit from our services, if they're coming, if by the end of that consult, they're still like, nope, this has to be 100% done by this time frame, that may not be a good fit. Now, all the time, even in my current job, I work with people who their job is that of an athlete, and they do have time constraints, and we have to push it along, but doing it in a safe way, that maybe that race that you have planned in 6 weeks isn't going to be well, but can I get you to get back to coaching and get on the road again so you can show that your sponsors that you're making the progress towards it? Yes. And even helping especially with more of those professional athletes, this is the steps that is necessary for a woman to move forward. That isn't, can I help be an advocate for them? But if they're just like, nope, this is what has to happen, and in this period of time, and I just truly feel that that's not safe, that's not the right client for us.
So tell me about what you're doing in your marketing. Like, where are you reaching out to people? How is that? Like, what's your plan there so far?
Yep. So we just got our website built. And we're right now working with someone to get a newsletter starting to go with that. So we'll be having people subscribe and to build a little bit more of the word through just our wisdom through newsletters. We are, again, a lot of our main population are people of the child raising age. So a lot of them have Instagram. So videos, little clips of demos, modifications for the pregnant and postpartum body we're putting out through there. We've also been reaching out to local gyms and running clubs and to introduce ourselves, which is now something that we can do with a little bit more confidence since we have, again, a website and not just like, look it up, find us on Instagram. Yeah. So it feels like we've got like a little bit more of like a landing place for them. And so we're really kind of stepping in like that. So a little bit of some cold calls connections, and we also have connections through our own work that we've already done.
Beautiful. Yeah. Anything else, Kaitlyn, you want to add to that?
No, I think we're just trying to reach out more to just different types of gyms, running clubs, now that the weather's getting warmer, that type of stuff, just to continue to get our name out, especially as people start to plan for races in the fall. It's a really good time to people are starting to get motivated.
Okay, who's in the videos? Both of you, one of you?
It's usually both of us. It works out kind of perfect because Meghann is at a different point in her life athletically than I am. So we do have a nice juxtaposition between different athlete levels. So usually the both of us are. We also do video footage of gym members at the gyms that we go to. So those are typically who we use, volunteers.
Yeah, we've got a really loving support group of women that we've helped throughout the ages that are kind of doing demos and stuff for us like that as well. Mm-hmm. So it's really great.
Oh, cool. Well, what's a demo you've done recently, that made a video of recently?
So there was a fun international CrossFit competition that was 3 weeks long. So everyone in the world does the same workout for 3 weeks. It's like every Friday they post it. And so for 3 weeks we posted, here's the workout that they say that you're going to do. So if you are an athlete that doesn't have, so every athlete would be doing it. But if you're a pregnant and postpartum athlete, we videotaped ourselves doing modifications. Here's how you would do it. Here's physical health strategies, but here are also some mindsets to keep alongside it to keep you going. Like, why are you doing this? Like, being aware of like, oh, but I could have done so great if I wasn't pregnant or postpartum, instead of like, look at me, I'm moving my body. So we filmed ourselves doing that. So that was kind of our recent thing that we did. We also showed just how to do push-ups at different levels as well. So little things like that.
I have to tap out because I have a patient that's here. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn.
Thank you. I'll let Meghann wrap it up, though. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about how you structure your offer.
So we took your advice and we started off focusing on the individual. So we have an individual package where you can buy a one-time offering where you get a 2-hour sit down with my sister and I looking at mind and body goals. We provide 5 different workout modifications for you, and we allow you to submit one video to us showing your movement and us giving some feedback on that. So like one kind of check-in after that. So that's like the most basic package. And from there, we offer like packages of like 4 meetings, 6 meetings, 10 meetings or more. And the more packages that you get, the more access you have to us, the more you can reach out to us in between our meetings, and the more that we will provide workout modifications for you, as well as mindset goals and individual meetings to continue to fine tune your needs, both in pregnancy and postpartum. So we offer that individual like that. So it can be anything that you want it to be, from just like a one-off, here we go, to a more detailed, we have an ongoing relationship with you. And then we also offer packages for gym owners or running club owners where we can teach them how to teach to train their community, their membership on, like, I know how to look for and modify exercise form for the members that are pregnant and postpartum. And I also know what mindset to look for, what could be some barriers. So we do that training. And we're hoping, as we continue to build our word and get more attention and excitement, that we'll be starting then to do online workshops, like an 8-week workshop with just postpartum women or just pregnant women, and then kind of do a more kind of group setting. So, but right now we're doing more individual coaching and training of gym staff.
Beautiful. And then like when you hit that critical mass, you can open up to groups.
Yeah, we just wanted to be able to get started and to pilot as soon as we were already doing it, but in a more formal way, and get that started and up and running.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Annie, and thank you for your program. It was so helpful. I keep going back and looking at some of the material, and it was just like everything I needed. So I really appreciate you, and I've spoken volumes to my colleagues about it as well. So.
Oh, thank you so much, Meghann. That means a ton. I appreciate it. To learn more from Meghann and Kaitlyn Ellis, head over to twinrootwellness.com and find them on Instagram at twinrootwellness. I want to thank Ames Palms for editing this podcast. If you found this episode supportive, please do a couple of things. Share it with your favorite therapist or healer. That is absolutely the most important way we reach more people. And if you haven't already, please hit follow and give us 5 stars. That is so helpful to this podcast. And thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.